I was one of 6 kids. My dad was much more just distant, kept with work and on his computer. When he was around, it was more walking on eggshells of, am I going to do something to make him angry? Is he going to be set off? Am I going to upset him? And for my mom, she was the opposite. She showed her love great to us kids. That was never a doubt. I think just when she began to deal with her pain from her past, she got stuck in the past, and she really never came out of that. I lived trying to keep my mom happy. When we moved, when I was 15, it switched something in me, and I finally couldn't keep her happy anymore. That's really when my anger started coming out at her. I never screamed or yelled at her. It was just in my own heart and mind. I was so angry and so bitter at her. I remember my brother saying, "Nettie, you're just penting everything up and someday you're gonna explode." Now I'm exploding at my kids. I struggle with postpartum depression with each of my kids, and I was angry, and there was no description for why a mother was angry. It was, oh, your baby's born and this beautiful experience. And while I definitely loved my children, it's almost like I took out my bitterness and jealousy of the experience they could have that I couldn't have. And when I first realized that, it was mortifying. And I wanted that cycle of anger to stop, and for that to be the memories that my kids had of me as their mom. I wanted them to see and know and experience the love that I have for them, and not just hear it in words, but see something different in my actions. I decided to do freedom session because anger was taking over my life and the way I mothered, and I didn't want to pass it on to my kids. I was hurting them. I was doing the very thing that I had seen hurt me as a kid, and then I was becoming that very thing. I think the most critical thing that God showed me throughout the freedom session was the effects of sin down the generations. I remember I went up to Ken and said, how do you pray against generational sin and to have it stopped? And I feel like there was so much sexual abuse in my family's past and stories. God in his grace spared me from that personally. I want Satan to not have any foothold in this, in my kids' lives, in our home, in our marriage. And he just started praying. He's like, well, like this. And he prayed. And I was shaking and terrified and crying. But just even saying the words, God help me, I found there's so much power in that. Since doing freedom session, I feel like I'm working through everything still. It's just not so in a acute crisis mode. It's still there. I'm constantly trying to remind myself, okay, we're never going to be perfect. We're not going to reach this point of everything's fixed and done, even though I find myself being like, why am I still having this problem? Why do I still go back to these habits? Why do I still have these thoughts that just completely come out of the blue and bombard me? It's manageable. It's something where if a thought comes in, I feel more equipped to say, okay, this is not true. And I think back there is growth, even though I feel like it's frustrating and discouraging to take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, and feeling hopeful, feeling lighter and freer, and knowing that though it's not going to be perfect, it was so very different. It's progress, not perfection. I try to remind myself of.